Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Reapy Run, and today we're going to be doing a Far Cry 6 tier list of all the revolver weapons. One thing I should mention before this is that I'm probably going to mispronounce some of these names, so I do apologize that ahead of time. I'm not sure entirely how to say all these. First one we got is tostado, or the flamethrower, and the flamethrower works pretty much like the flamethrower does in all the other Far Cry games. So it's not way great against armored enemies, it's not way great outside of just fighting non-armored enemies or for burning fields and stuff. I didn't find it to be super useful throughout the game. It's not terrible, but it's probably one of the weaker revolver weapons I found. I'd put this one into C tier. This is one of the few revolver weapons that you do just get for free though. So all you have to do is just play, I think, only the first couple missions of the game, and then you get the flamethrower. And I did use it for a little bit beyond that, but not for much longer. Even when I had fully upgraded it, it was still just kind of meh to me. Next we have mero. This one is probably one of the cooler guns, in my opinion. I believe that this is a full-size revolving shotgun, which is a little bit unique. That's been cut down to be a sawed-off, and you get a big shield with this. This is a defensive weapon. The shield works pretty well for fighting off most enemies. Most enemies can't punch through it or can't hit you very easily, at least if you're facing them head on with the shield from the side, and if you're getting hit by multiple people, it's not as good then. And the range is pretty limited with this, at least with the standard buckshot. Once you put the slugs in it, then it does have quite a bit more range. And the slugs are super fun in this game because it sends people flying. But I was kind of a little bit disappointed with this. It one-shot headshots most enemies, at least with the slugs in it, pretty much at any range, which is good. But with the amount of recoil it has, and it not being super quick on like follow-up shots, it can be a little bit annoying if you're not constantly hitting headshots, at least on the heavy armored units. On everything else, like either the slugs or the buckshot, going for body shots works just fine, and punching enemies with the shield is pretty fun. This one I would say is probably one of the better revolver weapons, and definitely one of the coolest ones. I'd put this one up into A tier. I like it. Then we've got la cavadora. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right either. This is the giant crossbow that shoots out harpoons pretty much. This one's really cool. I like this one. This one does really high damage. You can kill enemies very easy with it. It one-shot headshots anything in the game. Doesn't really matter what it is. Maybe some of the unique animals it wouldn't. I'm not sure. I didn't try it on them. It is a single-shot weapon, so you do need to reload it after every shot. And it does have a slow reload, so that can be a little bit of a hindrance on it. You also can't pick up your harpoons after you've shot them, which I really wish you could, because that would make this weapon so much better. I still think this weapon's pretty good, and I put this one probably on the high end of B tier. I guess it'd probably be like B plus or like A minus. It's somewhere in between these two. If you could pick up the harpoons, it would definitely be in A tier, and if it had some sort of upgrade that made it so you could reload quicker or maybe hold multiple shots, maybe if it was only just 3, then it would probably be like way high up into A tier or S tier, because that would be a really solid weapon. And it is a really solid weapon, it's just it does have limitations. It is a stealth weapon, which is kind of funny, because half the time when you hit somebody, their body goes flying from this thing. So, super fun weapon, if nothing else. Then we have El Bestia, poison leaf blower thing. This thing is pretty bad, I would say. Pretty much the poison weapons in general in this game were pretty disappointing when I used them. It takes a very long time to actually get much value out of the poison effect. And there's really not much reason to be using poison rounds over regular rounds, just in the regular guns. So having a weapon that just sprays poison out, it was kind of fun to get enemies to fight each other because of the poisoning, but it wasn't really all that practical for any sort of fighting. It didn't really help all that much. You can't use it really in stealth. I guess you could if you just isolated one person and gassed them to death. Even with upgrades, this thing was still really disappointing. It took forever to kill any enemy normally. I would probably rather have any of the other revolver weapons over this one. It's pretty bad. I'd put it into D tier. Pyrotechno. This one is super fun. This one is essentially a multi-barreled grenade launcher, kind of, or multi-barreled rocket launcher that does shoot out fireworks that explode. We found that this is really good for killing yourself with. It's extremely easy to blow yourself up, especially if you're riding in a vehicle and using this. I would not recommend that then. You can blow up other vehicles really easy with this. It's much more difficult to actually aim for regular soldiers, though. If regular soldiers are just running around, you have to be hitting surfaces near them in order to blow it up to really do a lot of damage to them. And even certain soldiers it won't do that much damage to if they're heavily armored, assuming it doesn't hit them directly, because I think a direct hit pretty much kills anybody. And this one can destroy vehicles incredibly fast. So if you're just firing this at like trucks, maybe helicopters and planes. We really didn't launch it at too many helicopters and planes. Helicopters, I can see you getting more value and actually hitting. You can fire this one rocket at a time just by tap firing it, or you can hold them down and fire all the rockets at once, which is way more fun to do, but a lot more dangerous to do too. I'd put the firework launcher probably, I think, into B tier, because it can be really strong when used in specific circumstances, like if you're firing it at vehicles, but against most soldiers, most troops, most things that you're fighting, it's going to be kind of underwhelming, or at least kind of unreliable. And it won't be underwhelming. It will be very overwhelming, but pretty unreliable. Next, we've got El Sucero. This is the nail gun of the game, and the nail gun's pretty good, especially with all the upgrades. It shoots pretty fast. It's fairly accurate. It actually has a sight on it, which is nice. That's actually better than what I thought it would be. I figured it would just be like a post or something that you're aiming with. But it does have a sight, if you count sights with Sharpie markers on them. Holds a lot of bullets, it's silent, it does high damage. I'm pretty sure this counts as like armor piercing as well. And that's one of the best effects that you can have in this game. So the nail gun, I'd probably put this one up into like A tier. It's really solid. I really enjoyed it. Discos Locos is up next, and this is the CD launcher. This is modeled pretty much off of the saw blade launcher from New Dawn, which the saw blade launcher was pretty good. There is one difference between, well, there's a few differences between this weapon and the saw blade launcher. The main combat difference is that the saw blade launcher bounces. We couldn't really get any of the CDs to actually bounce. I think we upgraded this, and I still think they broke on impact. I could be wrong about that. If they do bounce, then this weapon is much better, and I will retract where I put this from there. If they did bounce, I'd probably put this one up into B tier, because that would make it pretty good. But with the startup time for it to actually launch the CDs, and that you have to pretty much just hit something directly with the CDs, doesn't make it all that useful. Having 5 shots is also not way great, especially on a weapon that takes time to charge up. It is silent though, which is nice, and you can kill, I believe, most things in one shot if you hit them in the head. I'm not sure about helmets. I don't think it goes through helmets. So you'd have to hit them twice, in which case it's not that great, and I would rather just have like the harpoon launcher over it. And that'd be the main thing that I'd compare this to, is the harpoon launcher. It's just, I feel like I would much rather have that weapon than this weapon in most circumstances. So I'd put this one into C tier. Again, unless I miss something and this actually does have bouncing blades, in which case then it probably would be like B tier, because I could see that being really useful, especially in like urban environments in the game. Zeusito is up next, and this one is the lightning/EMP weapon. This weapon seems really cool. It seems like a railgun that you get to use, and it sort of is, but not exactly. You have to charge this one up to then shoot it. The EMP blast is really useful, especially against vehicles, because EMPs can knock out pretty much any vehicle. So if you shoot this at like a helicopter or a plane, assuming you can actually hit a plane, because planes move a little bit quick, this makes it so you can like knock helicopters out of the air with one shot, which is really good. You can knock out tanks and then commandeer them. You can knock out vehicles so that they're not using them against you. Those are all pretty good. The main problem is that you can have all these on like your Supremo as EMP grenades or EMP mines, and they generally work better, because then you can take whatever else you want to use with them. So I found this weapon to be kind of underwhelming. It was fun to use, and it does have some pretty violent animations if you kill somebody with this and they just explode. But as a practical weapon, I found it a little bit lacking. I'd put this one high up into C tier, because if you do want to shoot helicopters out of the air, it is really good for that. El Popino is up next. I think that's how you say this. This is the minigun. And the minigun is really good. It does high damage per shot. It does pretty high damage per shot. It completely destroys vehicles in no time. You can shoot down planes, helicopters, boats, cars, whatever it might be. Also holds a lot of bullets, and it reloads fairly fast for a minigun too. It doesn't have too long of a delay on it. It does take time for you to actually spin up, and when you pull this weapon out, you do need to, I guess, kind of rev it up for it to actually start shooting. So there is delay in between shots and delay starting up the gun, but when you actually are firing the gun, it's pretty good against vehicles and stuff, and if you're using it just for that, I'd probably put this one up into A tier. It's pretty solid. La Suppressa is up next. This is a rocket launcher, grenade launcher weapon, single shot, where you pretty much slide the whole assembly off to the side so that you can load up your one shot and fire it. This is really good for killing vehicles too. It's probably one of the better vehicle killing weapons in the game, especially when you have the cluster bombs with it. And I would put this one also probably up into A tier. Maybe not better than some of the other weapons in the game though, because I found it kind of lacking compared to like the RPG or the Rat 4 or the multi-shot grenade launcher. I found that those were generally better for the same use that I was using this weapon in. But it was still a pretty good weapon overall, I'd say. La Varita is our final Supremo. This one is a kind of a secret Supremo. You have to earn this one by completing the quest Triada Blessings. Once you complete that, then you get this, and you also get the unique pet Aluso. You also get a unique Supremo to this too. And this combined with the Supremo is easily S tier, without a question, because that allows you to mark out all enemies, so you pretty much get wall hacks. And you can punch through everything with it. So it doesn't matter if there's a concrete wall in the way, if there's a tank in the way, if there's billboards in the way, if there's just a giant mountain of dirt or a mountain in between you and your target. If you can see it, then you can aim at it and shoot and kill it. And you have infinite bullets while you're doing this, as well as a faster reload. This weapon by itself is still pretty good. It rivals most rifles, I would say, because it has good sights, it has a fairly fast reload, it has a fast rate of fire, low recoil, holding 9 shots is really good, and it will one-shot headshot most enemies that aren't heavily armored. I think the heavily armored ones, you have to 2-shot headshot them, which is a little bit annoying unless, of course, you have the Supremo going, but even so, I'd still probably say this one's S tier. It makes for a good kind of battle rifle or improvised sniper rifle, I guess iron-sighted sniper rifle, or the weird rock-sighted sniper rifle once it's in the Supremo. I will probably be doing some more of these. I'll be doing like the unique weapons in Far Cry 6 as well as most of the normal regular weapons and stuff. Because Far Cry 6 had a lot of really cool weapons, and I'd like to talk about each of them. Hopefully you guys found this useful or a bit interesting. Tell me where you would place these guns. I'm really interested to see what other people's opinions are. Thank you so much for watching this. I really do appreciate it. If you like this and you'd like to see more of it, be sure that you get subscribed. That way you get notifications whenever I post these. Special thanks to all my supporters. These are my patrons and my members over here on YouTube. If you would like to be a part of that, there are links down in the description, and they get early access to videos like this. Thanks, and you guys have a nice day. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.